Few years ago, I met my ex. I'll call him Alex for my own safety. I came across Alex's profile on Instagram and recognized him as a student who attended the same high school as me. I always thought he was attractive, so I followed him on Instagram, and to my surprise, he actually responded to one of my stories. We started messaging on Instagram back and forth, then both of us quickly realized that we liked each other. We started calling each other and sleeping on the phone. One night while I had fell asleep on the phone with Alex, I heard his voice coming from the phone whispering something like "I would SA you" and things along that manner. I thought I was hearing things, so I brushed it off and thought I was just dreaming. Eventually me and him started dating and going on dates. Everything was pretty well except for the fact that when he would kiss me, he would bite me extremely hard, to the point it would make me bleed. I told him multiple times not to do it, but he would always continue. A couple months into dating, a girl had made a video on Instagram claiming he was a cheater, but he denied to me that he even knew this girl, and I believed him. 10 months of dating went by and a friend sent me a screenshot of him being active on Tinder. I immediately broke up with him after that. But Alex would blow up my phone with messages and calls. I decided to block him. He then started driving past my house every single day. At this point, I had started my first job, and he would eventually show up there too. I even moved jobs, and he found me there as well. The situation eventually died down. But 1 year later, randomly out of the blue, I get a flower delivery of pink roses. It had Alex's name on the card attached, but nothing written. Being the stupid 17-year-old senior in high, I actually unblocked him and thanked him. He asked to hang out, and I willingly went to hang out with him, and soon after we started texting. My 17-year-old self thought it was cool to be dating a hot, well-known older boy, so I eventually fell back into Alex. After a couple times of hanging out, we started dating again. I eventually lost my V card to Alex, and we started regularly sleeping with each other. One day he texted me saying he had a surprise for me, then sent me an iCloud file. I opened the file, and it was a video of us in bed. I had no idea he recorded us. I couldn't even consent. I was 17 at the time and he was 20. Again, stupid 17-year-old me stayed with him regardless of the red flags. Eventually our relationship became sexually and physically abusive. One night he SA'd me while I was intoxicated and left bruising on my head and abdomen. A couple days after that, I decided enough was enough and broke up with him. In stalking immediately following the breakup, he would constantly text and call me. He would beg for me to see him. I kept denying, but he kept going. He would threaten to come into my house in the middle of the night while I was asleep. This happened for a couple months. During this time, I met someone new and we started dating. I was having trouble with my mom, and my new partner asked me to move in with him. Somehow Alex found out where me and my new partner were living, so he started showing up at our place. We documented everything from our cameras and ended up filing a restraining order against Alex. We got granted a temp order until our hearing. Our hearing date came and the judge extended the temporary order to let things cool down for 6 months, and if he breaks the order, judge will grant a long-term order at the next hearing. Within days of extending the temp order, Alex violated it by parking in front of my house on multiple occasions. I called the cops multiple times, but they never even gave him a warning. One day while I was working, I get a call from my local police department that Alex tried purchasing a firearm, which violates our order. They just warned him not to do it again and had to let me know for my safety. Obviously, knowing your crazy ex has tried purchasing a firearm is scary itself. The following days, he would follow me to work and stand in front of my boyfriend's truck in the early hours of the morning. He would start tailgating me on my way to work or swerve in front of me in his car. Me and my boyfriend moved somewhere else, but in the same city still. Somehow Alex still managed to find us. My boyfriend decided that if the cops weren't going to help us, then we would need to leave the state. We ended up packing up everything in the middle of the night and driving a state over where my boyfriend's family lives. I have been here for about 2 months. Me and my boyfriend found good jobs and plan on leasing our own apartment soon. It's been peaceful for the most part, however, I still hear about what Alex does back home. He still tells everyone that we are together and even posts pictures of me on Instagram. Meet Jane. I don't know much about Jane except that she's from a small town and she moved here with her friends and boyfriend for university. When I first met Jane at the pub, I thought she hated my guts. She always gave me nasty looks, and when my friends tried to approach her friends, she'd be rude to me. Jane is pretty, like very pretty. Every guy in town has a thing for her. But Jane's boyfriend is insane, to say the least. They are regulars at the pub, and I've seen them break up around 3 to 4 times, and the waiter working at the pub who's my friend says he's seen them break up a dozen more, but they always come back together. Couple of months back, I had just finished with the gym and I had just showered when my mom called and asked about this pub, and how's the food there. I told her the food's to die for, and she said she and my stepdad were on their way there. I told them I would meet them too because I was dying for some hot wings and a burger. We sit down, and me and my dad just start drinking beer after beer, and in no time, I had down 5 pints of beer. I was getting a little bit tipsy, but I kept pushing though. My dear friend, let's call her Tina, called and asked if I was down for a drink. I told her to come to the pub as I was already there. She's going to meet my folks, and they plan on leaving soon, so she and I could continue. That's how it happened. My parents left and Tina and I continued drinking on our own. The pub was closing, so Tina decided to go to the bathroom, and I walked with her inside to see if I could get another pint. We stumble upon Jane. Jane starts talking to Tina, and I realize they know each other. We all sit down to comfort her as she was a crying mess. Her boyfriend and she were done for good, and she revealed that he used to really abuse her, mentally and physically. I felt bad for her, so when she rested on my shoulder, I just let her. Tomorrow night, I get a DM from her, and she's apologizing about the trauma dumping. I tell her it's no biggie as we all need to vent sometimes. We continue chatting, and she constantly goes between "I can't text you," and then texting me again. She says don't text me, and then text me first when I don't. One drunken night, she texted me to meet her. It was around 2 a.m., and I had my little cousin over. That whole night we watched movies, and he had just fallen asleep. So, I declined her offer. I also feel it'd be a bit weird for me to hang out with her completely sober while she can barely see. I don't know, just weird to me. The next day, she's sobered up, and I agree to meet her for a hangout. We hung out for a while, and she was fun to hang out with. I did like her, but I was worried about her and her ex. Soon enough, her leech of an ex left town as he was never really interested in university, just being close to her. On one of our dates, she revealed to me that she realized she had feelings for me, and that's when she broke up with her ex, resulting in him physically attacking her. One day, we had a date at her place. A little study date. After we finished studying, we relaxed on the couch and ended up making out. I went home and we continued talking about it, even exchanging photos, and then we hooked up. Now, I'm a person who likes alone time, so sometimes I just want to chill at my house and not really be with anyone, and she did not like this idea. She started spamming me with calls, saying how she could come over and we will chill, she will be silent and I'd still be alone. In my opinion, this kind of defeats the idea of being alone, as I am not alone. She threatened me that if I didn't pick up the phone, she would never talk to me again. This is where I snapped, and told her that her lukewarm at best manipulation tactics would not work on me and to not contact me again. She flipped out and came to my part of town, hanging out and waiting for me to come out. I told her, I begged her millions of times not to come to my house, but she came anyway. I literally felt so disrespected because all of a sudden, I hold no value in life. When she texted me, "Come out, I'm here," I texted her, "Nah, I'll pass," and stayed home. Now, she's following me everywhere I go. It's been months, and I'm dating the girl of my dreams, but that has not stopped her from being in my shadow. She learned my routine. When do I go to the gym? When I'm at practice, and she never fails to show up or drive past where I'm at. My stepbrother reviewed the security footage from our house, and we counted her car driving past my house at least 14 times in a day. I still get texts from her on the daily even though she's blocked. She gets wasted and spams me with messages on WhatsApp that she then deletes. My girlfriend is absolutely livid with this chick as she would not leave me alone. I do not fear for my life, but I have warned my friends that if I die, it It would not be an accident or a suicide. She's in my shadow. I constantly have to check my six to see if she's behind me. I live in a small, sleepy town, mostly populated by elderly people, or people looking to raise their kids in a quiet, tight-knit area. The highest form of crime that goes on here is domestic abuse or someone trying to rob the gas stations, which usually fails since the only gas stations in town are neighboring the police department. I have always been a paranoid kid, my mother having taught me to be afraid of the world. Now, I have schizoaffective disorder. I hallucinate often, and sometimes it's hard to tell real people from hallucinations. Tonight was a night where I was 100% sure this man was real. The night began with me and my buddy deciding to hang out around late 8 p.m. We were planning on going to the local grocery store with a combined $25 to get snacks, but by the time we got in the general vicinity, we realized the store had closed 10 minutes ago. So, we decided to go to the gas station instead, second best option. We turned, and I noticed a man who seemed to be in his 20s sitting near the courthouse with his phone and body facing toward us. Please note that me and my buddy are both unconventional looking. My buddy wearing punkish clothing, while I was wearing harem pants and a button-up. Fashion stars, I know. We both laughed it off and assumed it was some guy about to post us onto Snapchat about how ridiculous we looked, a common trend among younger people here. So, we brushed it off. We walked around the courthouse to avoid the guy in case he was going to try to confront us, and went on our way to the gas station. We ended up walking by the same side of the courtyard he was on, and I checked to make sure he was still there. He indeed was. I made a mental note of it, and we went into the gas station. We both have had pictures taken before, and people laughing at us, so we just assumed it was another case of this. The more I thought about it though, the more unsettled I felt. Alarm bells kept going off in my head telling me that something about this situation was not safe. We bought snacks and left, walking by the laundromat back in the direction of the courthouse, as we both lived in that direction. I saw a guy in the laundromat that looked eerily similar to the one from just 10 minutes before, but I didn't say anything. We kept walking, and right before we walked in front of the large window of the laundromat, I noticed the guy was holding his phone against the glass, right where we were about to walk in front of it. I panicked, grabbed my buddy's arm and darted off in the opposite direction. I'm not sure what this guy's infatuation was with recording us, but I was done. I speed walked back to the gas station meanwhile my buddy was telling me it wasn't a big deal and that it was fine. I told the manager of the station and he recommended we go to the police. I am not a fan of police, and my buddy has a fear of them. But we had no weapons, no way of defending ourselves other than our hands, and who knows what this guy had on him. I walked to the police station next door despite my friend protesting, and convinced him to come with me, because I didn't trust him outside on his own. Besides, the guy was now sitting outside the laundromat for some reason. After a small wait, we got our names and birthdays taken and 2 officers came and spoke with us. We described the guy, and they mentioned they had already gotten a call involving the laundromat and were on the way over there anyways. I described the situation and how he had his phone literally against the glass on the window right as we were walking past it, and they both agreed that it was creepy, and they were glad we came instead of going home. We sat outside the station to wait so we could get fresh air. Eventually, they went to check it out and we were given the okay to go home. We went a very out-of-the-way direction though, just to be safe. I work at a grocery store here in town, and I hope I never see this guy again.